What is up, coin traders? How's it going? Thanks for joining me for the show. Going to look at Ethereum right now. An extremely nice big bullish day for Ethereum right now. Price, time of recording 1551.22. So we have been extremely overextended, but what's great right now is that we are looking at a very nice rollover for these exponential moving averages. One thing to be mindful of is the last couple times we have had a rollover in a nice positive looking direction. For example, right prior to the FTX flush, we were looking at sort of the same thing where we did have very nice break on top of the 50 period EMA on this 2-day chart. And then we had a retracement, back tested it, and then ultimately lost it. So just because we are starting to flip doesn't mean it's necessarily a guarantee, but we are looking at a few other good bullish things. So for example, we are breaking out of this longer term consolidation wedge that we have actually been in. So now, since we are currently looking extremely strong on this 2-day, on this very nice break, that's a very nice bullish signal. So now we're actually going to need to backtest prices that we were seeing before the FTX flush. So price for that coming in is a high of 1677. For the 2-day close, though, that would need to be a break on top of 1644. So a little bit of a zone right there. If we do continue to see prices heading to the upside, I think we're going to see a very big resistance zone all the way up to about 1800. So essentially, I do anticipate seeing a pretty strong resistance zone just shy of that, but basically leading right up to that level. So from about the 1600 level all the way up through 18. And then that's why we are going to need to see probably, and one of the best things that I anticipate that could happen actually from a bullish perspective is actually a little bit of difficulty getting through this overall zone, back testing this previous line of resistance, now testing it as support, which does hopefully hold a higher low, and then back up to retest. Because if we actually look at some of the strength indicators, for example, the RSI, we are very over on this RSI for the 2-day. So for example, we're looking at 73.96 right now on the 2-day. And if we zoom out, we haven't seen the RSI on this 2-day actually break above the 70 line to get oversold since the all-time high back in November of 2021. And then so each time before that was actually a higher high on RSI. But what we need to be mindful of is that every time we do get overextended on this 2-day, we have a pretty significant retracement to the downside. So even in this instance, retracement to the downside, then obviously after the all-time high. So even the lowest retracement in the middle when we were looking at prices in September still retraced a total of 30%. And then even back during May of 2021, we did see a total retracement of 56%. So I don't think necessarily right now at these prices it would be that substantial. So even from the bottom of this resistance line down to, it could be about 15 to potentially even 20% at worst. And especially if we look at price line support to the downside, we're going to have a nice support coming in at 1400. So that still could be a potential line that we would ultimately end up backtesting and confirming support, setting that higher low. But we could see prices falling below that and making a backtest of this line, and then ultimately down to just above the $1,300 level. Flipping over into the daily chart now, and we did just finish printing the most recent daily candle. So we can see that Ethereum closed with a very nice day, and Ethereum was up almost 7% on the day. But like we said, if now we look at this RSI, it did close at an RSI of 85.18. So extremely strong, but also does need to retrace. So if we actually make a line at that point, then we could zoom out and see that we haven't had prices or the RSI actually this strong since back in January of 2021. So 2 years ago, and that was way prior to setting the all-time high. But if we do zoom in on what happened in that instance, then we can look at the pattern how even though we retraced, we actually didn't get completely bearish and have an overall pullback. So that could be something that we're experiencing now. So after a very nice run up, just a slight retracement, holding support on this 26 period EMA all the way up, and then ultimately end up forming a kind of bullish break from this ascending wedge. But even in that instance, if we look at a pullback, then we did drop back about 30% in that time as well. So if we pull up the RSI again and look at what the RSI did, you can see that at that level, we still need to ultimately retrace and pull back. But that's still not to say that we couldn't see a little bit more upside from here. So even if we zoom out again and look at this pattern when we did have an RSI stronger than the 85 line, then even in this instance back in the summer of 2020, back in August, you can see we were very extended, briefly pulled back to test the 12 period EMA, and then basically sat sideways for about 2 weeks. and then still maintain to have prices see higher highs. Now, personally, I feel that the crypto space is extremely overhyped right now, and a lot of euphoria coming in such a short time, so a lot of that hype's just not really going to be sustainable. So I do think there probably will be a little bit more of a retracement and a backtest of some of these lower supports to establish that higher low. So I don't really think we're in the kind of market yet that can pretty much go sideways and allow the RSI to fall, but yet seeing higher highs in price. Obviously, that could still potentially happen, but I am being extremely cautious right now in these overall market times because we are still in the middle of this longer term bear market as well as a lot of financial economic struggles. Now flipping over here into the weekly chart, couple of big things to look at. Most notably, want to turn off the 12 and the 50 and just look at this 26 period exponential moving average. Because as you can see, we still had an air gap, so we haven't had a complete test and a touch off this 26 period EMA on this weekly since back in March, and even prior to that on the downside when we failed to hold it as support. So now the fact that we are getting a nice bullish break on this candle that does close tomorrow, if the bulls can maintain a close on top of that EMA, right now it's at 1467.23, then we would need to see a following week of bullishness and upside, which ideally would top out this price level high, which does come in at 1677. And let's go ahead and draw a little price marker there as well. So that is going to be our next big step, is to break that level, forming that new price high, especially after holding higher lows. So if we do compare what happened the last time we broke above this 26, we actually lost it right away and couldn't maintain it. So as long as we can see a break and a close on top of this 26 period EMA and being able to maintain it for a couple of weeks, then that's pretty much going to be one of the big signs that's going to let us know, especially after breaking trend high for price, that we're likely going to be experiencing a lot more upside and heading back up in price for direction. If we do flip over into the 6-hour chart now, or even potentially the 12, you can see how parabolic we're actually starting to get and how even this exponential moving average right now is starting to get pretty crazy. So we could even potentially see one more big explosive leg to the upside. But one of the things that's extremely important to know is that parabolic moves in any direction are not sustainable. But typically what ends up happening is that we get a very big parabolic move. We end up consolidating, pulling back a little bit. And then from there, that's what starts the next parabolic move, and we're able to see that next run up again. So personally, I don't think that we're in the state where we're just going to completely retrace immediately. I think after such an explosive leg, it is time to have a big, long consolidation period that would ultimately need to hold up and have another bullish break. Otherwise, we are at extreme risk of seeing more downside prices. So would definitely love to get everyone's thoughts on Ethereum, and let me know if you are buying down in the comment sections below. That is going to go ahead and close us out and wrap us up for today's show, though, on Ethereum ETH on that ticker. If you did enjoy the show today, please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button if you haven't done so just yet. Also, please make sure to drop a comment down below. Do love chatting with you all. Really appreciate all the continued love and support. As always, means so much. Stay safe. Take care. I'll catch you back in the next video.